Okay, all right. Do you hit the record button?
Yeah, it's done.
Heavenly Father, as we begin this session tonight, we begin with anticipation of what we're about to hear, and we can apply it to our lives, and by so doing, help someone who is in need. We give you praise now. Be with our speaker in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, we're going to try to get through where we left off last week when I had computer difficulties. We were talking about marijuana, the legalization of both medical and recreational type marijuana, as well as illegal use. Heavy effects of marijuana use on social behavior. Heavy marijuana abuse may show low achievement in important life measures, including mental and physical health and career. Marijuana affects memory, judgment, and perception. Learning and attention skills are impaired among people who use it heavily. Longitudinal research on marijuana use among young people below college age indicates those who use marijuana have lower achievement than non-users, more acceptance of deviant behavior, more delinquent behavior and aggression, greater rebelliousness, poorer relationships with parents, and more associations with delinquent and drug-using friends. Smoking marijuana can Smoking marijuana can make driving dangerous. The cerebellum is the section of our brain that controls balance and coordination. When THC affects the cerebellum's function, it can cause disaster on the road. Research shows that drivers have slower reaction times, impaired judgment, and problems responding to signals and sounds of driving while under the influence of THCs. Addictive potential. The drug is addicting if it causes impulsive, uncontrollable drug craving, seeking, and use, even in the face of negative health and social consequences. Research suggests that roughly 9% of users become addicted to marijuana, with higher rates if the user starts at the age of 17. Young age at 17%, in those who use marijuana daily, 25 to 50%. While not everyone who uses marijuana becomes addicted, when a user begins to seek out and take the drug compulsively, that person is said to be dependent or addicted to the drug. Long-term users who try to quit could experience withdrawal symptoms such as sleeplessness, irritability, anxiety, decreased appetite, and drug craving. Withdrawal symptoms usually begin about a day after the person stops using marijuana, peaks in 2 to 3 days, and may take up to 1 or 2 weeks to subside. Some heavy users develop a tolerance to marijuana, meaning that the user needs larger doses to get the same desired results that he or she used to get from smaller amounts. Medical marijuana. As of November 8, 2016, 28 states in the District of Columbia have legally allowed marijuana for personal medical use. Rules for surrounding the use of medical marijuana vary by state. The first state in the union to legalize the medical use of marijuana was California in 1996 with Proposition 215. States that allow medical marijuana include Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, New York, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and the District of Columbia. It's important to recognize that these state marijuana laws do not change. I'm going to repeat that. Do not change the fact that using marijuana tends to be an offense under federal law. Medical marijuana in the U.S. is controlled at the state level. Per federal law, cannabis is illegal as noted in the Controlled Substance Act. But the federal government has stated that they will not actively prosecute patients and caregivers complying with state medical marijuana laws. However, the use of medical marijuana outside of the state laws for illegal use or trafficking will not be tolerated by the state or federal government. There are 8 medical conditions for which patients can use cannabis: cancer, glaucoma, HIV, AIDS, muscle spasms, seizures, severe pain, and severe nausea. Cachexia, or traumatic weight loss and muscle atrophy, wasting syndrome. According to various state laws, medical marijuana can be used for treatment of other debilitating medical conditions such as decompensated cirrhosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease, and post-traumatic stress disorder. All states that approve medical marijuana has enacted laws to allow its use for all of these conditions. Another difference between the states: the amount of marijuana for medical use that can be possessed by an individual patient or primary caregiver varies, but may include dried marijuana and live plants. You need to check your state laws to see what your state has. Is anything over that legal amount for your state that you have and do not have it in your vehicle, do not be caught driving with it, or under the influence, you're going to get arrested. In healthcare, the use of marijuana for medical reasons is controversial. November 2013, the American Medical Association, the AMA, voted to retain an official position that cannabis is a dangerous drug and as such is a public health concern, but also acknowledged the changing attitudes toward marijuana among the American public. The AMA calls for laws to emphasize public health-based strategies to address and reduce cannabis use, and state that criminal laws for the illegal possession of marijuana for personal recreation use focus on public health-based strategies rather than incarceration. The American Medical Association, AMA, encourages continued research of marijuana-related cannabinoids in patients who have serious conditions. AMA also states that marijuana status as a federal Schedule I controlled substance should be reviewed with the goal of facilitating the conduct of clinical research and development of cannabinoid-based medicines and alternate delivery methods. This should not be viewed as an endorsement of state-based medical cannabis programs, the legalization of marijuana, or the scientific evidence on the therapeutic use of cannabis meets the current standards for a prescription drug product. The AMA continues to stand strong against the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. The AMA also rejected a proposal to advocate for the sale of cannabis to be regulated on a state-based level. Several states are now considering or have passed bills to allow legalization of medical marijuana oil, CBD oil, or realm oil for intractable seizures in children with Dravet syndrome. These children can suffer 40 or more seizures per day. The seizures are often prolonged in length. The oil is made from a form of a special strain of marijuana called Charlotte's Web that has extremely low levels of THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana that leads to the high. However, the strain has elevated levels of cannabinoids, CBD, a non-psychoactive component that has been shown to have a number of therapeutic benefits, including those that limit seizure activity. The oil is taken in an oral liquid form, not smoked like traditional marijuana. News media has showcased several families from states that do not allow the CBD oil. These families have moved to Colorado from their home states to access it for the children who suffer from debilitating seizures. Legislation is currently under review in several states to allow the oil for children with debilitating seizure conditions. Political leaders, U.S. government officials, healthcare providers, and medical organizations take differing views on the benefits and risks of medical marijuana. Proponents state that marijuana has valid medical uses and further research should be pursued, while opponents list concerns about health risks and the gateway effect of marijuana that can lead to more dangerous drug abuse, among other issues. Nonetheless, legalization of medical marijuana continues to be pursued at the state level, with pending legislation in multiple states. Recreational use of marijuana. In 2012, voters in Colorado and Washington State passed initiatives legalizing marijuana for adults 21 and older under state law. The states of Oregon and Alaska, as well as Washington, D.C., also voted to approve recreational use of marijuana in November 2014. In November 2016, 4 more states, California, Massachusetts, Maine, Nevada, voted in recreational marijuana. It is important to note that the federal government still considers marijuana a dangerous drug and that the illegal distribution and sale of marijuana is a serious crime. Under the Controlled Substance Act, CSA, marijuana is still considered a Schedule I drug. Cultivation and distribution of marijuana are felonies. Possession for personal use is a misdemeanor. Possession of paraphernalia is also illegal. Cultivating 100 plants or more carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years according to federal statutes. The first time you get caught, it's a misdemeanor, but any other time after that, it could be considered a felony. That being said, it is unlikely that the federal government is interested in pursuing individuals complying with state-mandated regulations surrounding legalized marijuana for recreational use, although the CSA law still gives them authority to do so. The Department of Justice, DOJ, has attempted to clarify this issue. On August 29, 2013, the DOJ issued guidance to federal prosecutors concerning marijuana enforcement under the CSA. The DOJ is focused on priorities such as preventing the distribution to minors, preventing revenues from sale of marijuana toward criminal activity, preventing diversion of marijuana from states where it is legal to states where it's not legal, preventing state legalized marijuana from being a cover for other illegal drugs or activity, prevent violence and guns in cultivation and distribution of marijuana. In some states, if you get caught with drugs and a weapon, it's a double crime. Prevent drug driving and other public health issues. Prevent the use of public land for marijuana cultivation. Preventing marijuana possession or use of federal property. That becomes a real problem. You have recreational areas, public parks, government-run parks, and people growing marijuana, and they have the fields booby-trapped, usually with fish hooks. Additional states may undertake or pursue citizen petitions in the future to legalize recreational use of marijuana, according to the Brookings Institute. Presidential years bring out an electorate more favorable to marijuana legislation than the off-year electorate. Other states who have tried and failed to pass legalized pot or may attempt legalization in the future include Arizona, Montana, Rhode Island, Michigan, and Vermont. A majority of Americans support legalization of marijuana, 52% pro versus 45% con, according to findings from a Pew Research Center survey March 2013. Support of marijuana legalization has increased dramatically since the 2010 by 11% points. Colorado passed Colorado Amendment 64 on November 6, 2012, allowing the sale and possession of recreational marijuana. Adults 21 and older can grow up to 3 immature and 3 flowering mature cannabis plants privately in a locked space. A lot of them do it hydrophonically. What a hydroponic grow is, it's in a dark room with heat lamps and water trickle, and you can do it inside. Adults can legally possess all the cannabis from the plants in the place it was grown, but when traveling away from this place, many may only possess 1 ounce in total. In addition, an adult may give up to 1 ounce to another adult at least 21 years of age. It cannot be sold. On January 1st, 2014, retail marijuana shops opened for business in Colorado, and sales of marijuana are now taxed at a state level. Retail taxes on recreational marijuana can be lofty. In the Denver metro area, they can exceed 20%. In January 2014 alone, Colorado pulled in over $2 million in taxes from recreational marijuana sales.
Alan, I got a question.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
What if we do this? For a generous donation of...
Well, yeah, see, that's like with Al Capone and the Mafia. If back then in the 1920s, if they were a 501c3, they could have taken donations instead of us breaking your legs, you give us a donation and we won't break your legs for you. And it would have been legal if they were a 501c3 organization.
Well, but I mean, just,
Equal charity.
yeah. I mean, if you drop 50 in the box, I'll make sure that you get taken care of.
Yeah. And hey,
I gotta make a living somehow. I mean,
hey,
I'm just
when I was in California, Napa Valley had a outdoor flea market, and I was hired as an undercover agent working it. Well, when the first day I got there, there was a small little booth, and it was Omar's gun sales. The guy was an Arab, and I'm sitting there going, how in the heck did this Arab get a federal gun license to sell Uzis and all these weapons? Well, here come 2 Napa police officers. So I asked them, I said, how did Omar get an FFL license? And the guy, what's it your business? I said, well, I'm working here, and I was just curious how he's doing it. So they went in, and I watched very closely and figured out how they were doing it, because Omar slipped them an envelope each.
Uh-huh.
And that's how Omar, the tent maker, had his gun sales in the open flea market.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And see, that's the thing. It doesn't matter what laws you pass. What about enforcing them? And what about, all these loopholes that people end up, getting into or getting out of? I mean, it's crazy.
The laws are only there to keep the people that are law-abiding from breaking them.
But see, that's just it. The law-abiding are breaking them, but
well, no. If you're in a position where you're supposed to upkeep the law and you're not, then you're not law-abiding.
Well, but you know what I'm saying. I mean,
I know what you're saying.
I'm a law-abiding citizen. However, I mean, there's ways
yeah, I know. There's, yeah.
And see, that's the thing is, it really is a bunch of hogwash. And I mean, why is it that rules apply for one person and not another?
That's a difficult question. But see, here's the thing. When you drive and the sign says 30, do you go over 30?
Well, see, that's the thing. I drive according to my driving skill and ability.
So when you're telling me that the sign says 30 and your ability is higher than that, then you go over 30.
60. 45 anyway.
Yeah. See, lawbreaker.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
But see, that's just it.
That's the thing,
See, but not I don't always get away with it, but see, that's the thing is, it's not that
No, but
I'm,
see, now you're being taped, so they know who you are.
well, this is all theory. This is all
The
just talk.
facts discussed, yeah, the
This
facts
is
discussed
all
tonight are hypothetical.
hypothetical. Yeah.
These are all hypothetical situations that are being discussed tonight. Any resemblance to real facts are disclaimed at this point in time. Names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Or to protect the
Da-da,
guilty.
da-da, yeah. Anyway, as we digress,
But
let's
see,
go on.
yeah, but
I
see,
know
that's
what you're saying.
that's the thing is, here again, you cannot fix stupid. You cannot
No, you can't.
legislate smart.
Yep.
You can't
Nope.
legislate morality. So why try?
Yep,
I mean,
understand.
it's crazy. The
Yep.
only authorization or the only authority for lawmaking is God in the first place. Only His law
Right,
is supposed to be enforced anyway.
right.
So I
Right.
mean, it just
Well, Bruce,
no. You cut out. I didn't hear anything.
go ahead, Lyle.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bruce, go ahead. Your names have been changed. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go, Bruce, go ahead. You continue.
Go ahead and what? Break the law now?
No, you can finish on your hypothetical situation.
Oh well, Bruce did it, not me,
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yes, Bruce, go ahead.
or whatever the guy's name is.
God. Yeah, whoever you want to be tonight, just yell out a name. It's all right. Well, anyway, we're going to continue, and then we'll have a discussion period.
Yeah.
Specific city and county laws have been enacted to regulate how citizens and tourists may possess, consume marijuana. Hang on a second. Is considered impaired when 5 nanograms per milliliter or of blood or more of active THC is detected, according to the Colorado Department of Transportation. Tourists in the city may purchase a quarter ounce at retail shops instead of the 1 ounce for state residents. The newly formed Colorado Marijuana Enforcement Division of the Department of Revenue regulates recreational marijuana in the state. Washington. Going to Washington here. On November 6, 2013, the state of Washington passed Washington Initiative 502, also legalizing marijuana possession and sale for recreational use for adults 21 and older. The initiative was approved by popular vote, passing by roughly 56 to 44%. Like Colorado, Washington taxes marijuana cultivation and sales. Washington's retail tax rate on marijuana is somewhat higher than Colorado's, roughly 30 to 40%. However, additional excise taxes are implemented in the supply chain. It has been reported that tax dollars will be directed to schools, youth drug abuse programs. That's really good. Here you're selling it, and you got youth drug abuse programs and campaigns to hinder driving while under the influence of marijuana. Washington residents cannot grow recreational marijuana for personal use, although they can cultivate medical marijuana if it's approved by a physician for your use. That's where Dr. Feelgood comes in. Residents may possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana, previously a misdemeanor charge. The same rules for driving under the influence in Colorado apply to Washington residents. The state of Washington will be issuing the first retail store licenses in March 2014. They're expected to open in June 2014. The commercial market in Washington State is regulated by the Washington State Liquor Control Board. Yeah, let's go over some of these. I know we covered them before, but let's go. It's starting to pop back up again. Let's see if I can open it. Bath salts, or PABs. These are the things sold in gas stations and 7-Elevens and stuff. Common are street names: Flakka, Ivory, Wave, Vanilla Sky, Cloud 9, Blue Silk, Purple Sky, Bliss, Purple Wave, Red Dove, Zoom, Bloom, Ocean Snow, Lunar Wave, White Lightning, Scarface, Hurricane Charlie, Drone, Energy One, Meow Meow, Sexy, Ocean Burst, Pure Ivory, Snow Leopard, Stardust, White Knight, White Rush, Charge Plus, White Dove, Plant Fertilizer, and Plant Food. What are bath salts? Psychoactive bath salts, PABs, are a designer drug of abuse that has led to reports of dangerous intoxication from emergency departments across the U.S. Bath salts are not a hygiene product, as the name might imply. Bath salts are central nervous system stimulants that inhibit the norepinephrine, dopamine reuptake system and can lead to serious and even fatal adverse reactions. The most commonly reported ingredient in bath salts is MDPV. Although, Lyle, can you mute him?
God, come on. So, go.
Although other stimulants may be present, such as methadone and provolone. MDPV is the phenethylene class and is structurally similar to cathinone, an alkaloid found in the cat plant, and methamphetamine. Methadone has been reported to have high potential for overdoses. On September 7th, 2011, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency announced emergency scheduling to control MDPV and methadone, all chemicals found in bath salts. On July 2012, U.S. President Barack Obama signed into law a ban of MDVP, all chemicals found in bath salts, by placing them on a Schedule I controlled substance list. Schedule I controlled substances cannot be sold under any circumstances and cannot be prescribed for medical purposes. The law also bans any future designer chemical compounds meant to mimic the effects of bath salts. Having possession or selling these chemicals or a product that contains them is illegal in the United States. The reason why they added everything to this, the people that were making this stuff were changing the names, they were changing the contents, so the law finally came out that any type of change or alteration is still illegal. How do bath salts work? MDVP is structurally related to MDMA, and MDMA is a Schedule I hallucinogenic substance, and cathinone derivatives listed as Schedule I stimulants. Animal studies have demonstrated elevated levels of extracellular dopamine 60 minutes after administration of MDVP. Before the DA ruling, bath salts were noted to be easily accessible in convenience stores, gas stations, over the internet, in head or smoke shops. Bath salts packaged in powder form in small plastic and foil packages of 200 to 500 milligrams, sold for roughly $20 per pack. Most packages are labeled not for human consumption. The bath salt powder appeared white, off-white, slightly yellow colored. Bath salts are noted for producing a high similar to methamphetamine and have been called legal cocaine. Bath salt users usually snort the drug through the nose, but it can also be injected, smoked, orally ingested, or used rectally. Effects may occur with doses as low as 3 to 5 milligrams, but average doses range from 5 to 20 milligrams. There's a great risk for overdose because Retail packages may contain up to 500 milligrams. If ingested orally, absorbed and rapid with peak rush in 1.5 hours. The effect lasts 3 to 4 hours, then a hard crash. The total bath salts experience may last up to 8 hours. Reports from emergency departments note that bath salts use can lead to sympathetic nervous system effects such as fast heart rate, hypertension, high blood pressure, hypothermia, elevated body temperature, seizures, convulsions. Death has been reported. Altered mental status may present as severe panic attacks, agitation, paranoia, delusions, hallucinations, and violent behavior, including self-mutilation, suicide attempts, and homicidal activity. Extent of bath salt use. The full extent of bath salt abuse is not known. In addition to use in the U.S., DEA reports illicit NDPV use has been noted in Europe and Australia. The first reports of NDPV seizure was from Germany 2007. United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and Israel have banned the chemicals. According to the DEA, the first U.S. reports came in during 2009, 10, and 11. Reports in the U.S. increased dramatically as of March 22, 2011. Poison control centers had 45 states, and the District of Columbia have received calls related to bath salts. In the first 3 months of 2011, U.S. Poison Control Centers has received 5 times as many calls related to bath salts as compared to the total number of calls in 2010. In 2015, authorities in Florida have cited the use of a new type of cathinone called flaca that elicits a disillusional state in the users. We're not going to go on any more about the hazards or anything. We'll go on to something else. I think we covered enough of that. Cocaine, everybody knows about cocaine. Let's talk about devil's breath a little bit. Okay, devil's breath, urban legend of the world's most scary drug. Next time someone, hang on. Okay, next time somebody tries to hand you a business card, should you think twice before grabbing it? Some would say yes. These are stories circling about a chemical known as devil's breath. It's making its way around the world, being blown in the face and soaked into business cards to render unsuspecting tourists incapacitated. The result, a zombie-like state that leaves the victim with no ability to control their actions, leaving them at risk of having their bank accounts emptied, homes robbed, organs stolen, or raped by a street criminal. Are these sensationalized stories part of an urgent legend or a factual crime scene? Devil's breath, as derived from the flower of the borrachera shrub, common in South American country of Colombia. The seeds, when powdered and extracted via a chemical process, contain a chemical similar to scopolamine called burundanga. Borrachero has been used for hundreds of years by native South Americans in spiritual rituals. The compound is said to lead to hallucinations, frightening images, and a lack of free will. Amnesia can occur, leaving the victim powerless to recall recall events or identify perpetrators. According to a 1995 Wall Street Journal article, about half of all emergency room admissions in Bogota, Colombia, were for burundanga poisoning. Scopolamine is also present in Jimson weed, Datura stramonium, a plant found in most of the continental U.S. And wouldn't you know it, the street drug is available in prescription form too. If you suffer from seasickness, maybe you use scopolamine, transderm scott on the last cruise venture. The active ingredient is available in 1 milligram transdermal patch worn behind your ear to help ward off motion sickness or operative nausea and vomiting. The medicine slowly absorbs through the skin from a specialized rate of controlling membranes found in the patch. It's worn for 3 days prior to being replaced. The low dose and slow absorption helps to prevent severe side effects in most people. Scopolamine transdermal patch is not classified by DEA as a controlled substance. Controlled substance or not, there could be true illegal use of the drug. High doses or spiked drinks could cause issue. The State Department notes on their website that scopolamine can render a victim unconscious for 24 hours or more. In Colombia, where its use seems to be more widespread, unofficial estimates of scopolamine events are at roughly 50,000 per year. In large doses, it can cause respiratory failure and death. However, these effects are due to oral administration in liquid or powder form in foods and beverages, not being blown in one's face or absorbed via a piece of soaked paper. Not surprisingly, the majority of these Colombian incidents have occurred in nightclubs, bars, reminiscent of the date rape drug Rohypnol or GHB. However, some events in Colombia reported having interesting twist. Wealthy appearing men are often targeting young, attractive women, not the other way around. Pharmacologically, scopolamine is classified as an anticholinergic medicine and belladonna alkaloid. Side effects like dry mouth, blurred vision, headache, urinary retention, dizziness can occur even in low dose used in the trans patch. Overdose can lead to a dangerous fast heart rate, diluted pupils, toxic psychosis, confusion, vivid hallucinations, seizures, or coma, among other events. Use with alcohol is warned against in the official packaging labeling. Combining it with alcohol as in a spiked drink or with other sedative drugs would certainly hasten central nervous system depression, confusion, disorientation, excitability, amnesia could ensure with oral consumption. But immediate zombie-like side effects by blowing into someone's face, that seems unlikely from a pharmacological standpoint. Others have also questioned the reports of robberies being taking place when the powder is blown into someone's face or placed on a business card. Accounts being used worldwide are available. In Paris, a report from Newsweek Europe surfaced that elderly people were being targeted by a Chinese international network. The U.S. State Department also warned on its website that travels to Colombia may be at risk of robbery due to criminals using a variety of drugs, not just scopolamine. Medical case reports have been published of women from London having prolonged headaches at the possible clandestine scopolamine exposure. Reports of illegal use of scopolamine in the U.S. are available, but unsubstantiated. Reliability is also, the reports are difficult to confirm. Nonetheless, the news stories highlight an important travel point. To prevent assault due to scopolamine or any other drug, follow these rules as recommended by the U.S. State Department. Never leave food or drinks unattended when traveling. Do not accept food or drinks from strangers or new acquaintances. Travel in a large group when possible and don't leave with a stranger. Always check the State Department's crime and safety warnings before traveling to a foreign country. Seek medical assistance immediately if you believe you have been drugged. One of the most famous recent cases is the girl from Tennessee that went to Aruba with her high school class. She was drugged, raped, killed, and buried. They're still trying to sort it out, figure out where he actually buried her. But she did exactly what this says not to. She left the confines of a group and went with somebody she did not know individually. Is devil's breath actually scopolamine, an urban legend, or other drug used to incapacitate tourists? Maybe it's a combination of all three. Urban legend or not, the use of drugs to incapacitate, rob, or rape victims can and does happen domestically and internationally. Because of that, a dose of good sense should always be used to avoid being poisoned, whether traveling abroad or just going out for the night in your own hometown. One of the biggest date rape drugs to come up the last couple of years was GHB. If you don't know what GHB is, it's a clear liquid, looks like water. If you stick your finger in it and put it in your mouth, you're dead. Straight, it'll kill you. They usually mix it in soft drinks or in alcoholic beverages, and it decapacitates the victim. They cannot move their arms or legs. They have no memory of what happened. All they know is they wake up in a state of disillusion, and unless somebody says something that they've been raped, they don't remember anything. It's a very, very bad date rape drug. Let's go on to, we got time, let's go on to this subject. Okay. This is a very controversial situation right here. Should people in recovery from alcohol or drug use medical marijuana? Okay. We'll just cover this real quick. And I got one other thing to cover. Come on. Should people in recovery from alcohol or drug addiction, here we go again, right? Okay. Use medical marijuana. Can medical cannabis provide alcoholics and drug addicts in recovery needed pain relief, or is it just a threat to the recovery in their lives? As recently as 20 years ago, the dilemma would have been primarily academic. In 1996, again, California became the first state in the U.S. to legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes, and its use has grown quickly in recent years. As more states approve it, an increasing number of alcoholics and addicts in recovery and medical professionals are grappling with the question of whether the substance is safe for people in recovery. Currently, 28 states and the District of Columbia are allowed to use the medical marijuana for a variety of conditions. We already went over those. Like anyone else, alcoholics and addicts in recovery suffer from these and other conditions that medical marijuana is used for. Unlike other patients, people in recovery have a history of substance abuse, and using a potentially addictive substance could be disastrous for those who are essentially in remission from their drinking problem and or drug addiction. Several addiction specialists say using medical marijuana could wreck an alcoholic's or addict's recovery, they explain. One man's story, how I beat addiction. Alcohol and addiction can be arrested but not cured, says Warren Zeisman, Chief Executive Officer and Chief Program Officer at ACI, one of the largest providers of chemical dependency services in the city, New York City. For an alcoholic addict, using an addictive substance such as marijuana is like turning the light switch on, Zeisman says. In almost all cases, Zeisman says he would not recommend people in recovery use medical marijuana. One exception would be someone suffering from a terminal illness who is seeking pain relief. In that instance, the primary focus for someone who is dying is to keep them comfortable, and we wouldn't necessarily look at their addiction issues, Zeisman says. Relapse rate threat. Even if marijuana isn't someone's drug or choice, using cannabis can trigger a relapse. People are more likely to seek their primary drug or alcohol when they are intoxicated or high, says Ann Lewis, clinical psychologist and licensed addictions counselor with Indiana University Health. It lowers your inhibition so you don't care. We don't make good decisions when we're drunk or high. Okay, the consequences of a relapse can be catastrophic, leading to job loss, hospitalization, and death. Zeisman and other addiction experts say an addict or alcoholic who has been using drugs or alcohol and relapses does not pick up where he or she left off in their addiction, but in far worse place. As if they had continued using while their addiction grew, they say. Alcoholism and addiction are progressive, so that means an alcoholic or addict who relapses will not resume using the amounts of alcohol or drugs they were consuming when they stopped, but it will take larger amounts as if they had never stopped, says Beth Kane Davidson, director of the Addiction Treatment Center at Suburban Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. For the addict, one drink or dose of a drug are never enough, Kane Davidson says. She also warns that marijuana is addictive. Alcoholics and drug addicts in recovery who do use marijuana could become addicted to the substance, she says. Health risks of binge drinking you can't ignore. Potential medical marijuana use. Some physicians have believed medical marijuana does not pose a danger to people in recovery from alcoholism or drug addiction and use it to treat patients for issues such as pain or anxiety to try to help wean them from opioids. For example, Dr. Mark Hashim, a board-certified anesthesiologist based in Hudson, Florida, says he believes medical marijuana can help addicts with withdrawal from opioids. I've given it to patients who are in recovery and haven't had an issue, he says. A study published in 2014 in the peer-reviewed journal Neurology found that amyotrophic lateral sclerosis patients who were using medical marijuana reported the substance helps treat their symptoms. In the survey, 21% of 102 ALS patients reported current or prior use of medical marijuana to treat their symptoms. Within the group, 80% said it helped relieve anxiety. 75% said it helped stimulate their appetite. 70% said it helped relieve depression, and 65% helped them sleep. Abstinence model, still Kane Davidson and many other alcoholism and drug addiction treatment counselors adhere to substance abstinence model, which calls for addicts and alcoholics in recovery to generally avoid mind-altering and potentially addictive substances except for unusual circumstances. For example, an addict or alcoholic in recovery who has undergone painful gum surgery or is suffering traumatic injuries from a bullet wound or car crash would use a painkiller such as Percocet under a doctor's care. Let me see if there's anything else we want to go on this. We'll go on to one more. Okay, need for clinical studies. Sheila Shilate, Chief Operating Officer of Seasoned Recovery in Malibu, California, urges people in recovery to be cautious when it comes to medical marijuana. Use of the substance for medical persons is new, she says, adding that she would like to see further clinical studies on its effects on patients, including the surveys that explore whether the substance can trigger a relapse. I don't think we would go blindly into it and make recommendations to use medical marijuana at this juncture. Shalati says, we have a responsibility to fully understand its implications. Addiction in the worst place. What is addiction experts say people in recovery should consider multiple factors when deciding whether to try medical marijuana to help treat the serious condition. They offer these 3 tips. Tell your doctor you're an alcoholic or addict in recovery. A primary care doctor especially may ask whether you drink or smoke, but may not inquire specifically if you are an alcoholic or addict, or if you are in recovery. Zeisman says, if you volunteer to your physician that you are in recovery from alcohol or drugs, you can talk with him or her about non-addictive alternative treatments, for example, to treat pain. 80 milligrams of ibuprofen could be a good alternative to painkillers such as oxycodone, which is addictive. Too much ibuprofen can also hurt your stomach, so it's got safety precautions. If you're abused prescription drugs in the past, write a letter to your doctor describing that episode. Doctors will flag this on their charts and avoid prescribing prescription medication that is addictive. Do your research and talk to an addiction therapist. People in recovery from alcohol or drugs who are wondering whether medical marijuana is right for them should consult reputable sources like the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the American Society of Addiction Medicine. Kane Davidson says patients should also research cannabis use disorder, which is defined by several symptoms including disruptions in functioning due to cannabis use, cravings for marijuana cannabis, the development of a tolerance for the substance, the ability to sleep, restlessness, nervousness, anger, or depression within a week of heavy use. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Based on a 2014 national survey, 4.2 million people ages 12 and up met the criteria for this disorder. Okay, I think I got one more, and I'll see if it's quick. And if it is, we'll go over it. If not, we'll leave it for next week. Okay. All right, this one I think is pretty quick if it opens up. Oh yeah, it's going to. Okay. Okay, here's some recent statistics if it'll open up. And then we'll open her up for discussion and review. Come on, you can do it. Get locked up on me. Really? Okay, we might open it up for discussion now. I think it locked up on me. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and open it up for discussion. My computer just locked up. My program locked. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Anybody have anything that they want to just bring up that we've covered while my computer's locked?
Give you a fresh bottle like Jusky.
Not everybody jump in at one time. Hey, Bruce, you want to start us off? Lyle, you on? Did I lose everybody?
I'm on something.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything you want to say?
I think we may have pretty well covered it.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think
Oh,
that...
let me unmute the Hankus.
Okay.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
unmuted, Hank.
Okay.
You have muted me?
I unmuted you.
Huh?
I unmuted you. You're now
Thank
free to
you.
speak.
You got anything you want?
States saying what's come better, the states or the federal? Federal say it's illegal. States say it's legal. So what gives? Are we going back to states' rights
Okay.
versus the
What
brought on the
gives
Civil
is...
War?
Well, Hank, that's the thing.
Well,
States are supposed
okay,
to
what
have,
it is
the states are supposed to have some sovereignty. They're just united for the nation. There's supposed to be federal law that trumps any state law, but that's not always the case. and it's not always enforced, no matter what genre or what area of law it is.
The situation on the marijuana for state use, the state laws apply, but if you go from your state to another state that does not have it, or if you're caught with more than what your state allows you, then you fall under the federal laws. And this is one of the problems right now with President Obama. There have been people put in prison for dealing drugs, and he's now pardoning them because he doesn't feel that it warrants it as a federal crime. But the federal laws do still apply when you abuse the state requirement law on medical marijuana or in a state that has recreational marijuana use. If that answers your question, it's a very fine line. Matter of fact, when Arkansas in this last November approved medical marijuana use, before they even put it on the ballot, before they even approved it to go on the ballot, they had authorities from Colorado come down, talk to our governor, talk to the police department people, first responders, medical professionals, and as such, to find out what the pitfalls were to it, how to go about setting up rules. And even though it passed November's election, the use of it will not take effect until 120 days from November, to give them a chance to draw up the rules and regulations for the legal use of it and how it's going to be dispensed, who can legally grow it for, and who's legally able to dispense it, and how much, and what are the directions going to be. Even if you have a medical marijuana certificate signed by your doctor and you're driving, you can be arrested for driving under the influence. Even though you have a medical marijuana permit, you can still be arrested for driving under the influence of marijuana, because you can't use it while driving. Now, if you got it in your vehicle and you have the certificate with you, which you're supposed to have, then you can legally transport that amount to somewhere else and use it, but not while you're driving. And if you have the certificate, you can't give it to anybody, because then you're going to get arrested for distribution of a controlled substance. So there's a lot of things that these people have to consider, and the doctors have to consider when they do legally dispense it, and who's going to grow it, and it has to be tested to make sure the THC level is constant, and nobody's going to get a high different variance. There's a lot of variables go into it.
Well, you know, this business of legalization versus not legalization, it reminds me almost of the prohibition, when people are saying, oh, it's bad news. It does this, it does that. Is it any worse than alcohol?
Yes.
It is worse?
Yeah, I believe it is, because alcohol is regulated. Marijuana is not. You can get you can have one grow, like you can have, we're talking illegal marijuana now, we're not talking medical marijuana. You can have a grower that will cut the marijuana with PCP or angel dust or meth.
Or what?
Or, okay, some marijuana is cut with PCP or angel dust, which is a very potent chemical in its own right. Some people put meth in their marijuana. Some growers have a higher potency of THC in their marijuana than maybe another grower. So you don't know what you're getting when you get your drug on the street. Okay, for instance, you can take somebody that's never smoked marijuana before. You can give them a plastic baggie with Lipton's tea in it, and you can convince them that they're smoking marijuana. And because they've never done it before, they can actually get a sense of getting high from smoking the tea or oregano.
No.
Hank, did you hear that?
Yes, I hear it.
Okay. Now, in some states like Florida, it was illegal to sell oregano or tea in a baggie and saying it was marijuana.
Why?
That'd be false
Why?
advertising.
It's false distribution, and it's a fake. You're selling it as a narcotic. But the person that's never used it before will have symptoms of getting high because it's mental.
Well,
The worst case.
I keep thinking about prohibition and the evils that were brought on by that thing, and how that finally got changed.
Well, yeah, but look at
Weird.
look at all the people that got rich, including the Kennedys through prohibition.
Yes.
Yeah, the worst case that I've got involved in was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with a 17-year-old. The call came in that somebody was driving erratically. Myself and another officer were dispatched to try to find the erratic driver. I got the call that he'd crashed. He hit a culvert, went airborne, come off the tree about 10 foot in the air and turned the car over and it flipped on the top of the car. When I took him to the hospital and stayed at the hospital with him, and they drew the blood serum to see what was in his system, he had marijuana, he had cocaine, he had heroin, he had meth in his system. He took an Ambien at 7 o'clock in the morning to feel better. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when he had his wreck. And he was so delusional that when his dad came to the hospital, he told his dad the car is fine, all it's got to do is be flipped over.
Yeah.
I told his dad, I said, sir, your car is knee-high. It is smashed. I told him that he needed to get his kid out of the area they were living and get him some help in court. His dad came up to me and said, thank you for saving my son's life, because the boy had no recollection of what happened until he came down and him and his dad went and looked at the car. The thing that scared me the most out of that wreck was 3 feet from the back window was a car seat. And until I found out that it wasn't a baby in that car, I thought that there was an infant killed in that wreck.
Oh.
Luckily, there wasn't one in the vehicle at the time.
Get in here and shut the door.
But see, then that would have been a whole nother
saying then if that had happened.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah, he would have been charged with neglect and manslaughter.
But what if it was a female?
Well, it would have been female slaughter. But he also would have, got charged with driving under the influence of narcotics. It was a one vehicle accident, so he got written up for driving under the influence, causing an accident. And if there was somebody in the car that would have got killed, he would have been charged with vehicle manslaughter.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
Well, the thing is
But under the medical marijuana, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say the guy should have had some of that oregano marijuana instead of the regular marijuana.
Yeah, at least with the oregano, he could have made Italian spaghetti or something.
Well, yeah, there's some benefits though of oregano and oregano oil and that kind of stuff. And that's the thing is he probably would have had some healing.
Next week we're going to cover. Next week we're going to cover another aspect of drugs. I don't want to ruin what we're going to do, so I won't tell you. But it's going to have a different spin on it that's going around. But here's what the problem is. This medical marijuana issue is so new that they're trying to figure out how to regulate it. But here's the biggest issue on it. The biggest issue is it's a moneymaker. It's a moneymaker for the states and the cities and everybody involved because of the extraordinary amount of taxes that it brings in.
Well, see, that's another thing that gets me is how can you logically, legally, whatever, tax a business or a substance like this in a business to the point of breaking? I mean, it's like, a 25% tax rate? Give me a break.
Well, it's going up to 40%.
Yeah,
because
and the thing of it is that tax dollars are not doing anything to educate and prevent. Oh,
now,
well, it's going to drive health care costs up. Well, then why did you make it, a medical substance that you could have freely?
And this is one of the things that these people behind these issues got these things on the ballot, got the ballots, got the people to vote on them, and the state said, fine and dandy, we're going to make a killing off of you. And the money's being used, a lot of the small, states or small, towns and cities that get state money are using that money to, in their schools, to update their infrastructures and for their public health programs.
Mm-hmm.
But, if the people that are licensed to grow it, like right now in the state, I'll give you an instance in our state, but I just read it in the paper last week. The state has not found anybody that wants to petition the state to legally grow it, to get the license to legally grow it. And you have to, and until they can find farmers that are willing to do it, and being under the sanctions and everything else, even though it's been approved, it's not going to be licensed for use.
So with your mom.
Well, and see, that's the thing is that they won't make it legal to grow and everything and produce and sell hemp, which is far safer, and there's no drug effect and all this stuff, that and the other, and it can be used for fuel, clothing, shelter. The
can
list
hang
goes
the
on and on and on and on of
yeah, you got-
benefits, and
Right.
and yet they won't do anything to help propagate that.
Oh, see, and hemp can be used to hang child molesters and rapists.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's a
I
lot
know.
of good, healthy
Right.
benefits.
Right.
Okay, but see, that's another thing too. You use the term public health. Well, what is public health? Yeah, I thought everybody was responsible for their own health and health care and health, needs. It shouldn't be the responsibility of the state or the city or the county. Now,
Well,
you know,
yeah, that was true. That was true years ago. But what happened is,
well,
you got
we became socialist.
well, you got politicians in there that say that they know better what you need than you yourself know, because you can't distinguish
I rely
your
on
needs.
what God tells me is what I need, not the
Well, I
state.
understand that.
And
But here's
and see what happened to the personal responsibility here again, and all this, of I work, I get paid, I get the benefits and privileges of working and buying health care. Oh, well, I get, so, get off your duff. Well, I can't work. I'm handicapped. Or what? Okay. Well, there's other ways to take care of it.
For God's sake.
Where is the allowing and the promoting of organizations that are there for that purpose to take care of that, and empowering them to take care of it? But that's the thing is well, you're not a part of any club of our kind of club, religious clubs or whatever. So, they're making absolute pagans out of a lot of people, to where, there is no God. They're getting God out of everything. Out of the schools, out of everything, out of the churches.
yeah, and what they've got and what they've did, they made people dependent on the state and on the government. And the people that are dependent on the state and the government, every time there's an election, you got one branch of politicians that sit there and go, hey, if you don't vote for us, guess what? And when you got the president giving people 5 years unemployment to sit home and smoke their illegal marijuana, and then they subtract that from the unemployment rate.
Oh, of course. But see, that's the thing is that whole unemployment rate thing and all that is a bunch of hogwash anyway. But we put generated 250,000 new jobs this last month, but which was just
Dishwashers.
25,000
Anyone went to illegal alien.
short. Yeah, 25,000 short of projected whatever we need to do this or do that for the Fed to raise the rate or whatever. They got all kinds of
I'm waiting.
games.
There's all kinds. Oh yeah, but see, Al Capone got arrested for fixing the book, for cooking the books.
Oh, but see, that's the thing. It's all right if the government does it with our tax money,
Yeah, they're cooking the
but
books.
but no, it's not all right. And that's the thing is people are they at the same time with all this, they dumb the people down to where they don't really need an education. Oh, and of course you got to have an education free too, just like with everything else in life. Well, somebody's going to pay for it, so it's nothing is free.
Well, here's one thing I want to see what happens. Chicago, California, New York, and there's one or two other states have become sanctuary states for illegal aliens. I'm going to not be politically correct. Now, with these illegal aliens taking jobs that the citizens can't get,
right?
Because you can pay the illegal alien a lot less, how are they going to feel about their politicians making them a sanctuary city?
Well, and see, that's the thing. Another thing too is, Frisco was one of the cities, and they've basically made it well known publicly to the world that they are not going to prosecute or whatever illegals.
Well, Chicago did the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm not politically correct. I'm
not either. So I mean that's telling everybody. That's telling the federal government where all the illegals are.
Well,
which is no surprise anyway.
See, I just prosecuted an illegal alien in Chicago for bank fraud, identity theft, and filing a false income tax return.
Yeah.
But the state of Chicago and the state of Illinois says we do not care whose ID the illegals have to use to get work.
Yeah, and that was the mayor of the or something. But see, that's the thing.
Right now he's upset with me because I'm putting an illegal alien in the court system.
Yeah, but see, the thing of it is they need to be put out of the country, not in the court system. They need to be put out of the country. Come here legal. There are legal ways to do things, and if you can't afford it, too bad. Work harder, longer, or whatever until you can. Save up, just like anybody else has to do with things. Yeah. There's a lot of jobs out there that are probably out there that I could do or get hired at that I can't. Right? I can't even go to.
Well, let me give you for instance. When I lived in Florida, we had an influx of Cubans come in. My friend and I, this guy advertised for 2 people. We went down, we applied for the job, we talked to him for about a half hour, and he goes, I like your qualifications, I like your attitudes. And he goes, I'm going to ask you, how much money do you need an hour from me? And we told him. And he looked at us and he goes, boys, let me tell you how it is. If I pay you guys the $30 an hour that you deserve, I get 2 of you. For the same $30 an hour, I can get 5.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, so I'm sorry, I'm going to hire the 5 Cubans. Mm-hmm. And we looked at him and said, but they're not trained, we're qualified. He goes, we can train them.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the job.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing these illegals are doing in these sanctuary states. What? They're working for less because they're getting paid, because they're not here legally, so they're getting paid less. And the people and yeah, there's some jobs that the Americans don't want to do, but if you're starving, work's work.
Exactly, and that's the thing, and that's taking that opportunity away from, and that's the thing. I may not like it, I may not, and see, that's another thing too. a lot of jobs, it's not that you don't necessarily like it or not. A lot of it is the pay is so bad. It's like how can I make a living changing sheets at a hotel or something? I mean, there's some jobs that just don't pay a living wage. And I'm not talking about living on high on the hog either. I'm talking about just
but some of those jobs are entry-level jobs for for people that are just starting out.
exactly.
They're not careers. They're not career jobs. Like flipping hamburgers at McDonald's is not a career job. However, nowadays you got people with college degrees flipping hamburgers.
Yep. And then you also have a lot of the homeless that have income from their unemployment and mental health and whatever else, and yet they can't afford any kind of a place to live, or even if they did, they don't know how to take care of it.
Well, and that's the problem. Like especially New York, California, Chicago. If you're on borderline homeless, you can't afford to find a place to live.
Well, and the thing of it is the longer they're out there, the worse their mental health gets and everything else. And that's, part of a huge problem there. And it's like, and see, here again, it's not the state's job to house everybody. It's not, see, everybody keeps on throwing these political, economic justice and social justice words around, or catchphrases. What does that mean? Social justice, economic justice. The justice is you work, you get paid.
Yep.
If that's it. And everybody should be, but you have to be legal. See, you get legal paperwork, you fill out your 1099 or your 1040 or your 9 or your W-2, W-9, whatever that you're working under, and you go to work, or whatever contract you have, and you go to work and you do the work. But see, that's one of the things is a lot of people they may be trained, able to be trained or whatever, but what kind of quality of work is it that they've done?
Yep.
See, they are going to end up finding out with a lot of these things, which I think they already have, but they're just not letting it out, that it's not safe. The work that's been done is not not up to par, not up to snuff, not up to OSHA or whatever standards, and there should be some liable there on part of the owners that go and hire and use, train and whatever, employ the illegals.
So anybody else have anything they want to throw in, and we'll get ready to close. It's after 9:30.
You got 2 minutes, enough time for
Hank. Hank, you got anything you want to add? Doc, you got anything you want to add? Anybody?
I want to add some money to my account.
It's things have gone really well on the show tonight.
How do you regulate morality?
How do you regulate what?
Morality.
Morality?
You can't.
You don't.
Only God can do that.
And see, that's the thing is you leave things in God's hands. That's God's job to do.
When the Democratic Party said that if it feels good, do it, and as long as you're not hurting anybody else, it's okay. And they took God out of schools, took the Ten Commandments out, and started taking all this stuff out, and they started going politically correct with all these new dangled things like holiday, holiday trees and all this other stuff. You've lost control totally. And this is what, society's changed, and not for the better.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I think it's been a great program tonight, and we should have prayer. I think everybody should reflect on what's been said tonight. This is the kind of discussion that shouldn't end with the discussion. People need to really think about what was said. The problem with many people will be that they will go back and excuse a lot of their behavior. But I'm hoping people who think about what was said tonight will honestly reflect on it and promote some real change. That's what's, I think that's the greatest legacy of tonight's program, is change through reflection. People are just going to have to face reality and stop making excuses. So somebody needs to pray.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hank, you want to go ahead and pray?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your presence tonight. I think there was some good discussion. We learned some facts. And now, as grandparents, how do we use this information in the helping of grandkids? Because they're the lost right now. And we need to find some kind of order somewhere. And I think it's beginning with the election. I think that finally maybe America is waking up. I just hope and pray it's never too late. We ask this in the name of your Son and now for his sake. Amen.
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 Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, you too.
And before we go, I wanted to say one thing. I've got a half-sister that I haven't talked to since 1966. She and my dad, we have the same dad. Her and my dad got into it. Her dad got into it, which is my dad. And he cut off all ties again with her. Well, we were watching a movie and it said, this girl was trying to find her half-brother. And it made me think that I need to try to find my half-sister and talk with her. I Googled her, found her, talked to her today, and we had a pretty good conversation. We're going to start communicating. And we opened up communication channels between us. So I was pretty positive about that. So just keep that in prayer.
Yep.
You guys have a good week, and we'll see you next Monday here at Great Grandparenting. And Lyle, Bruce, tell the people what's going to happen tomorrow night.
Well, tomorrow night we're in the book of Mark, and then Wednesday morning we're at Advent Bible Study.
And Thursday, everybody's into turkey.
Well, Thursday, the all natural all the time ain't going to be because of that. We're going to have to play a rerun or something.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Anyway, everybody have a good night. Everybody have a good night. I'm signing off. I'll talk to you guys later.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good
Bye.
night, everybody.